We are.
Don't know if this.
We have Temple Terrace or nothing yet.
I want to,
Okay. He was here virtual. Okay, we'll start. We have a forum, so. I'd like to call this meeting to order for the Hillsborough River Interlocal Planning Board and TAC. If I could have roll call.
Councilman Kravitz. Chair Miller,
Here,
Councilman Maniscalco.
Here. All right, let's please stand for a pledge of allegiance. Above pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, do we have anybody here for public comment? Anyone for public comment? I see no one. May I have a motion to approve the meeting summary from October 27, 2025?
so moved.
Second, all in favor? Aye. All right, we have a few presentations and reports. The first is HCCPA 25-37, item 6A. Go ahead.
Good morning, I'm Jillian Massner, Planning Commission staff. I'm going to be presenting a summary of comprehensive plan and map amendment.
Is your microphone on?
I thought so.
It is? Okay.
Am I not, can you not hear me well?
Because it's, the sound goes into, it doesn't get projected in the room, it goes into the audio.
Oh, okay. All right. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, can you hear me okay? All right, I'll try to speak louder. I'm going to be presenting a summary of map amendment located at 40 Ranch Road. Okay, so this is a request that's privately initiated. This is a large scale map amendment as it's over 50 acres in size. The subject site is approximately 7,944 acres. The request is to change the land use category from agricultural mining 1 to 20, agricultural 1 to 10, agricultural rural 1 to 5, and natural preservation to planned environmental community. The subject site's located in the northeast part of unincorporated county and abutting the Pasco County border. It's part of the October 2025 cycle of plan amendments located in the rural area, and it's not within the limits of a community plan. This is an aerial photo of the site. It's outlined in pink, generally bound by Pasco County border to the north, Paul Buckman Highway to the east, Quail Meadow Road to the south, and US Highway 301 to the west. Across 301 to the west is the Hillsborough River State Park, and further northwest, where you can see the blue dotted line, is the Tampa service area. Currently, the site is undeveloped and contains a large area of environmentally sensitive land. Within the vicinity, there's natural undeveloped land, agricultural uses, and single-family residential uses. The site's comprised of a number of different land use categories that you can see highlighted up on the screen. Generally, these categories permits mining and related activities, farms, ranches, feedlots, residential, very low density residential, neighborhood commercial offices and industrial uses related to agricultural uses. The site is surrounded by other rural land use categories, including agricultural estates 1 to 2.5, and residential 1, which would be 1 dwelling unit per gross acre. Planned environmental community 1 to 2 is located to the west across US Highway 301, which is that lime green color, and contains the Two Rivers development. Other non-residential land use categories within the vicinity include natural preservation to the east and west, and heavy industrial to the northeast across Paul Buckman Highway. So the request is to change approximately 7,900 acres to the planned environmental community 1 to 2 category, which allows for consideration of uses such as agricultural, residential, neighborhood commercial, office uses, activity-based recreation and mixed-use projects. Mining, feedlots, and industrial uses are prohibited in this category. Residential development can be considered at a density of up to 1 dwelling unit per 2 gross acres, and non-residential development can be considered at an intensity of up to 0.25 floor area ratio, both subject to a variety of environmentally sensitive design criteria being met. And this category also requires a connection to water and wastewater utility services. So currently under the existing land use categories, the potential impacts or the existing conditions would allow for approximately 704 dwelling units and up to 86 million square feet of non-residential uses. The potential change would allow for up to approximately 3,972 dwelling units, and the non-residential potential intensity would remain about the same. And these numbers outline the maximum potential, so we're not considering the fact that the site is over 25% wetlands, and there would be wetland credits involved in calculating density for the site design level. So when we review land use changes, we're looking at the maximum potential. So just wanted to note that. So that concludes the summary of the request, and I know that the applicant is here and has some information they'd like to share as well.
Any questions? No? Yes, applicant? Oh, yes. ma'am.
Yeah, I do have questions, but after the applicant.
Okay,
Okay.
come on up.
Good morning, Mandy Corbett with the law firm of Ward and Henderson. I have the privilege of representing the Thomas family. The Thomas family is a longtime Hillsborough County family. They've owned property for more than a century. Wayne Thomas was the original purchaser of the property, and it's both this property and the property on the western side, of US 301, including land in Pasco. They originally purchased it. It was not being well maintained. The Hillsborough River does run through it. They employed many land stewardship activities to preserve the wetlands and the habitat on site while still thoughtfully ranching the site. And in 2005, they hired some consultants to ensure that the future land use category, there was a future land use category for planned environmental communities, for communities who preserve environmental features of the land. And they created that category. And there's only one property in Hillsborough County that has it, and it's the property to the west of 301 that Julian references, the Two Rivers community. They are now moving forward and would like to apply that same category here. We anticipate that this is a long-term plan, much like the Two Rivers community on the east or west, where it was approved in 2005, 2006. It's only now just developing. So it's something that is not an immediate, it's coming today. As Jillian mentioned, that the maximums that you see before you are not the maximums that we anticipate will be allowed to be developed, because there are many environmental protections with this category. And with that, I'd like to pause and ask Evan, our environmental scientist, to walk through our presentation. And
Thanks. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so today I'm just going to be discussing what I view as the environmental impacts of keeping the adopted land use on the site, and then also the environmental impacts of adopting the planned environmental community categories. Evan Foreman.
Thank you.
Thank you. So under the current designation, we have mining, and actually the zoning of mining is directly over the Hillsborough River. So what the implications this becomes is if a mine was established, this entire area would probably be clear cut. Then we would also have some wastewater discharges from the mine going into the Hillsborough River. Mine wastewater discharges contain high amounts of nitrogen phosphorus, which disrupts aquatic ecosystems. Plants have certain tolerances to these chemicals. If they get into high concentration, they can even cause algal blooms, which will smother the Hillsborough River. But currently, right now, the majority of the site is used for cattle production. Cattle waste also comes with these high levels of nitrogen and phosphorus, but they also come with fecal coliform. So it's basically the bacteria from the poop gets into the water and it can cause health risks in humans. So currently, the Florida Department of Environmental Protection has labeled the Hillsborough River impaired for fecal coliform. So there's too much of this agricultural waste or human waste in the river for it to be safe. Another source of fecal coliform would be septic tanks, which are not allowed in the plant environmental community category. On top of that, just the cattle also damage the natural plant communities on the site. After visiting the site, there's even crossings where cattle have access to the Hillsborough River. So we're seeing a lot of this waste go directly into the river and not just leach in from the surrounding areas. But the PEC, or the Plant Environmental Community category, has some really nice environmental protections. So one I'm going to talk about is either wetland buffers, water quality, and then the wildlife corridors. So currently, under the current designation, all the wetlands on site would be subject to EPC's 30-foot wetland buffer. And then the Hillsborough River would have a 50-foot wetland buffer. But under the PEC, you would see that Hillsborough have a 90-foot wetland buffer, as well as Blackwater Creek, and then its tributaries would have 60-foot wetland buffers. Your herbaceous wetlands on site would have about 50-foot wetland buffers, and the forested isolated systems would have a 33-foot wetland buffer. So under the existing categories, we would have about 535 acres of wetland buffer, but under the planned environmental community, we would have 874. So that's a 338 acre increase in wetland buffers. And this is really important. Why? Because it absorbs and filters nutrients and sediments from the surrounding upland areas that go into these wetlands. But it also provides wildlife habitat and it reduces erosion and sedimentation. To help protect these wetland buffers, the planned environmental community has non-revocable deed restrictions. So homeowners won't be able to mow them, and you can't take your child's swing set out there. You can't really do activities, and also prevents developers from building structures with the wetland buffers as well. Next, we have, here's a figure, I guess. So in the green, that's all the 30-foot wetland buffers under the current designation. And then the blue is the Hillsborough River that would be the 50-foot wetland buffer. So this is about 535 acres. But under the PEC, we would have the pink is the 90-foot around the Hillsborough and Blackwater Creek. The orange would be its tributaries with the 60-foot. The blue would be all the herbaceous wetlands on the site. Then the green would be the 33-foot forested wetlands. The planned environmental community has pretty stringent water quality standards, and these are based on mutual agreements that are reached between the county and the applicant. So these regulate direct stormwater discharges from the management systems into the rivers and wetlands. The Hillsborough River, any discharges going into there would have to meet a Class 1 standard for water quality, and that is a potable water supply class of standard. Everything else, all the rest of the tributaries and wetlands would have to meet a Class 3, which is basically, it's helping them to eat fish, to play and have recreation, and it will support the propagation of future populations of animal species. But additionally, the policy also states that all the stormwater discharges have to exceed Southwest Florida Water Management District standards of Chapter 62-40 or Administrative Code by 10%. Now, currently, for a Class 1 water body, it's like 95%. So what this effectively does is raises the pollutant load or treatment standards up to 100% treatment of the annual load of pollutants. So it's basically the cleanest water we can get out of these stormwater management systems. into the Hillsborough River, this policy would provide for. Now, how do we reach this? It's based on best management practices that are agreed upon by the county and the applicant. So you come together and you both have, this say or sway to basically recommend best management practices that you feel in the design phase would actually reach these goals of 100% reduction going into the Hillsborough River. This could do, for best management practices could entail like increased littoral plantings. So planting actual stormwater ponds with vegetation that would help filter out nutrients. Be increased residence time. Could be pervious pavements that are used throughout the development. And all these things that I just mentioned, best management practices, are specifically mentioned in the planned environment community policy. Wildlife corridors. So basically, the Hillsborough River and the named rivers, tributaries, and intermittent sloughs would all receive a wildlife corridor directly over them, but also up into the uplands surrounding them. So the Hillsborough River would have a 200-foot upland corridor coming outside of it that is designated area for wildlife. And then the named river is 105 feet, tributaries 60 feet, the sloughs about 30 feet. This is in line with Hillsborough County's significant wildlife habitat land development codes. Currently, there is some significant wildlife habitat maps on the site. It includes the Hillsborough and Blackwater Creek, but it also includes some upland areas. But significant wildlife habitat has to be verified by the Environmental Protection Commission as being a natural plant community in order for the land development code to actually apply to it. For it to be preserved, it needs to be a natural plant community. After visiting the site, much of these upland significant wildlife habitat areas are not natural, they're just a pasture, the hay grass, it's where cattle feed. But the wildlife corridors enacted by this policy would basically make that obsolete. It would automatically apply to all the uplands around these rivers and systems and protect them from development and preserve them. So the significant wildlife habitat acreage on the site is actually exceeded by the PEC category, around about 5%. Even if there is a significant wildlife habitat on the site that are uplands that's not included within the wildlife corridor so mentioning here, then the planned environment community policy has basically mandates that the preservation of the land development code needs to be exceeded by 10%. So we're protecting most of the significant wildlife habitat already by enacting these wildlife corridors. And any significant wildlife habitat that's outside of it is subject to a 10% increase in preservation. Anytime a roadway would cross the wildlife corridor, the plan states that wildlife crossings are required. And all of this has to be done with the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission's input. So if FWC comes out and they look at what we have mapped the corridor, they could say, well, actually, I think this area over here needs some more protection too. And the policy states that the applicant has to reasonably accommodate FWC's input into the plan. And so this is a chance for also FWC to come onto this important natural resource right next to the Hillsborough River State Park and say, this is how we think would really benefit this entire system as a whole. So the benefits to the Hillsborough River, I talked about wetland buffers, the increased stormwater quality, and wildlife corridors. But what this actually means to the Hillsborough River is we are increasing water quality. What that means is we're increasing the habitat function. So better water quality means natural plant communities can thrive. If you have bad water quality, it's all the invasive species start to come up. Good water quality, all the natural plant communities. What this means also for wildlife is they have more habitat to actually stage and reproduce. So healthy habitat means healthier wildlife, but also just direct effects of pollution on animals in a system. So pollution bioaccumulates in animals. So we have a fish in the water, dump a bunch of pollutants in it, it gets in the fish, whatever eats that now has the same pollutants in it. This is what happens to the bald eagle and why they faced extinction. We use the pesticide DDT, got in the water, got in the fish, eagles ate the fish, and then they couldn't lay eggs anymore. So everything has a cascading effect from the water quality in the Hillsborough River. Also increasing water quality just means reduced algae, which as a whole is great for the system. It smothers plant life, it reduces the oxygen concentrations in the river for fish. Overall too, with the wildlife corridors and the open space on the site, just means less human disturbance. So not all animals and wildlife are tolerant to humans. Most do not want to see humans at all. So the closer development is to a natural environment, the more likely it is the animal's going to move away. With these increased corridors and increased buffers, we can retain natural habitat. And with the deed restrictions, we can make sure that humans aren't doing activities in that habitat either. We can increase the wildlife utilization of the area. And what this means right next to the Hillsborough River State Park is we have an increased recreational value in the park. We have cleaner water for kayakers, safer fish to eat for people that are using it to harvest fish or anglers to go fishing. And just better plant communities. On top of that, the Hillsborough River is a potable water supply. And by increasing water quality, we're basically increasing the health of our community. So yes, the water is treated, but there is, flaws in our treatment system. That's why we have boil water notices. Sometimes that fecal coliform does make it out of your faucet sink, and if you drink it, you get sick. But by providing increased water quality, we can make our communities healthier, but we can also reduce the cost to actually treat the water. So if there's less pollutants in the water, we have to spend less money to actually treat the water coming out of the Hillsborough River. And all these things also, the wildlife corridors being right adjacent to the Hillsborough River State Park, we have increased wildlife movement to and from the park and to other natural areas. So if we preserve this, we can ensure that we have this long contiguous corridor of forests and systems for animals to move around in. Some wider regional impacts. So the Hillsborough River obviously drains to the Tampa Bay area. With cleaner water, it would be better turbidity, pH, and dissolved oxygen within Tampa Bay. And these are the parameters that are required for seagrass growth. So from the last few years, we've actually seen a reduction in seagrasses. But seagrass is vital to fisheries. It's vital to some of our most iconic fish species like the tarpon, the red drum, the snook. This is where they spend the early stages of their life cycle. So by helping increase the water quality in the Hillsborough River, it simultaneously can impact the health of Tampa Bay. And I talked about algae before and algal blooms. The same thing happens in the Tampa Bay area. So at the bottom picture right there is of the red tide that happened after the Pine Point disaster. Red tide and algal blooms in the bay can have massive economic implications for our area. So obviously tourism, tourist-based economy. On top of that, there's just that health concerns that I've never smelled red tide before, but there's a neurotoxin that gets in the air from the decaying fish and the algae, and that can affect our coastal communities too. So there's some safety concerns as well with, the water quality within the Hillsborough River. Lastly, I would just like to go over some additional PEC 150 policy that I think is just worth mentioning. So everything I've detailed here today has to be specified in an environmental management plan. And this has to be developed per the policy with the Environmental Protection Commission, Planning Commission, and the Regional Water Supply Authority. So you all get to come to the table and basically give your 2 cents in and give your recommendations and control on how this policy will actually be enacted on the property. Additional one is 40% of the site has to be open space, including wetlands, or 15% open space excluding wetlands. Further, just creating an open space for wildlife movement. It also conserves the rural aspect of the parcel, so we don't have too much development going on. Another thing is it has to exceed the lawn restrictions of Hillsborough Land Development Code. So, subject to fertilizer restrictions and stuff like that, watering. And then a public awareness program for the community that lives there. So they know not to go and plant buffers. They know not to hurt the natural community that we're trying to protect here. Thank you for your time. Do you have any questions? Questions? Yes, ma'am.
So, thank you for your presentation. It was actually very detailed and I appreciated that. So my question is, I'm asking it, so that it can be restated.
Yep.
This change would takes away the option for all septic tanks.
Correct.
So has the negative effects. Okay. My next question, I believe, is, for Ms. Corbett, the actual number of homes. So he outlines all of the regulations around the buffers and the barriers and that, and then it's a 1 to 2. So at the, roughly 4,000 homes, right? Was that right?
Well, it would be under that. That was the
I was gonna say
maximum.
it would be under that, so that's the
Yes.
max though, based on just acreage, right? But then when you
Yes.
put the other regulations there, and it's gonna be far fewer than that, if I just did a rough calculation on the buffers and that, and you can't put more than 1 to 2, right? Or is it?
Right.
Okay,
Can never be more than 1 unit per 2 acres.
and there's no utilities out there currently and no plan for utilities. I'm saying this for the record. So we're a long way from any development in this region.
So Hillsborough County does not have capacity to serve this at this present time. The Two Rivers across 301 gets its utilities through an interlocal agreement between the city of Tampa, Pasco County, and Hillsborough County. And something similar might need to occur, but it's not anywhere near, it's not something that's imminent. We're not in the process of negotiating any kind of agreement like that. We have not filed for our PD. Our PD is required by this category. So in addition to the environmental management plan, you also have to have a PD. None of that is in place. So this is not anything that's happening in the immediate future.
So I'm sorry, Evan, I didn't catch your last name, so I just have to. This
PORMEN.
This question is for you. So, obviously the community, I can't respond because it's active zoning, but, the community's been reaching out to me and I'm hearing all their concerns and sort of getting me up on social media and everything. I think it's important that we restate, or that I understand and have you restated, that this is a better option for the river, for the environment, that the true intent of the owner is to preserve. In other words, development may come at some point in the future. Maybe not my time in doing this role, but it will likely come. But he's saying, I want to make it the best it can be and preserve that, not just the water source, but for the wetland corridors. I live up in that region, it's my district. The EPC, everybody's gonna have their say in that, correct?
Correct, yep. The environmental management plan, this policy states that everything I described, it's gonna go into it. It has to come with input from the EPC, the planning council, and the regional water.
There won't be a request to change it at some point in the future again, after this land use change.
She can answer that more.
Yeah, Mr. Thomas doesn't have any immediate plans to, this is what we're doing, what we're asking for. And there was another amendment by another unrelated applicant to this plan category that has been withdrawn. So that might be some of the confusion, because I think it was an increase to 1 unit to the acre and a reduction in the open space. That plan amendment is off the table, wasn't ever part of this application, Mr. Thomas's application. You're asking for the same PEC 1/2 that we asked for on the other side.
So it's identical to what's on the other side. Okay.
Exactly. And the other side, on the Hillsborough side, I'm not sure what the entitlements are on the Pasco side, but on the Hillsborough side, it's PEC 1/2. And all of those, the environmental management plan, it has one of those. They've been protected, the borders have been protected. And then, if anybody has an interest in coming to see the ranch, Mr. Thomas would love to host anyone who has an interest or has curiosity about the property or wants to see it. We're definitely open to that. And open to sharing his plans. And the Thomas family also, I think I failed to mention, dedicated the land for the Hillsborough River State Park. And also, there's port up there as well, that is up there as well. They've always had a mind for not just themselves, but for the community and for preservation of the overall health of the river.
And when will this be coming before the Board of County Commissioners?
February,
February 12th. And is there any plan for community outreach between now and February 12th?
there can be. We have not, I know that there were social media posts about it. I have not been contacted by anyone to ask questions or find out information. We have not, it's all just from what I've seen. There was Mr. Boker posted a post and people reacted in the comments. So that's all I've seen. There probably is more activity. I'm not on social media all the time, so there could be more, but we've not had anyone reach out. And it's a little hard with the property this side to figure out where the areas of concern are. Right, and so I'm sure if there were groups that would like to meet and like to have more information, I find sometimes when people are just anti, you're meeting just to hear them tell you if they don't like me. And I'm happy to sit through that, hear that and try to dispel concerns, but I would be happy to make this presentation to whomever would want to see it.
Well, unfortunately, when you're elected, you don't even have to be on social media. They will send it to
They
you.
will find you.
They will find you. And so, I think that that may be helpful. And, you know, this is one of the reasons, you know, when we sit here as elected, is we're charged with like making sure we understand the information and making the best decision. We're not making our decisions based on inaccurate information on a social media post. But sometimes just managing that, and helping us manage that so that, I just want people, I believe that people make great decisions when they're educated and understand what's actually happening. And I want to preserve and do what's best for all of our wildlife. I mean, my son's with the National Wildlife Treaty Federation, and his career, doing so. I was fascinated by this information. And actually, it's a great plan, but when you hear the negative side, only that, that there lies our challenge. And I would love very much, you know, to see this move forward. And if I'm getting the emails, so are my colleagues. So,
And while it comes to you February 12th, this is a large scale amendment. So what's coming to you February 12th is just a transmittal.
okay, so we will transmit it.
It's not an adoption. There's plenty of time between transmittal and adoption to identify who those interested parties are and to meet with them and talk with them. So there's still time. So it sounds fast, but it's only the very first step.
I understood. That is definitely much more helpful, and I think that we're in good shape. But thank you very much. I learned a lot. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Anything further? Nope. Good. Looks like the county and the city have a busy February 12th.
Yes.
Yes,
We
indeed.
have a lot. All right, thank you very much. The next item is 6B, 2025 Plan Hillsborough Annual Report. Yes, ma'am. Please state your name.
Good morning, Katrina Corcoran, Planning Commission staff. Here we go. Here's my presentation. Again, I'll be presenting on the Plan Hillsborough 2025 Annual Report. I know that this may be repeat information for some of you that are on the TPO board, but I'll try to focus on some different aspects from the annual report for you today. So starting off with an overview of our strategic plan, you can see here that we have our pillars and goals. This is our 2024 to 2029 strategic plan. We have 4 pillars and a number of goals underneath each of those pillars. As we go through the projects and tasks that were completed or ongoing in 2025, the projects will be categorized by these pillars. So starting off with integrated and connected communities, partnerships and community engagement, resilient natural and built environment, and technology and operational enhancements. So we'll start off with some by the numbers highlights. We've had over 2,100 clients served, over 90 presentations to outside groups, over 65 comprehensive plan amendments across our jurisdictions with over 370 other consistency reviews, and over 1,300 maps created. Looking at our first pillar here, we have our integrated and connected communities. Starting off with our City of Tampa Future Land Use or FLU section update and community outreach. So this is for the update of the Tampa Comprehensive Plan. Staff released surveys, conducted several outreach meetings over the summer, and released drafts of the FLU for public review. And that will be back in front of Tampa City Council in a couple of weeks. We also have our Hillsborough County Urban Expansion Areas or UEAs. This study focuses on I-4 and Little Manatee South as potential areas for coordinated future development. We also have our Riverview Community Plan. At the BO60's request, staff are working on updating this community plan while the Tampa and Hillsborough Expressway Authority, or THEA, conducts a separate US 301 corridor study. Next up, we have our TPO Brightline Station Area Survey and Study. This is a study that was conducted to consider potential users and infrastructure needs for a potential future Brightline station. And finally, we have our Temple Terrace Multimodal Connection Study, and this study looked at the potential for a new trail network to destinations in Temple Terrace. Our second pillar is partnerships and community engagement, starting off with our Plant City Comprehensive Plan update and visioning survey. So staff are working on an update to the Plant City Comprehensive Plan. This included a vision survey with over 1,700 responses. We also have a joint workshop between the Planning Commission and the Plant City Commission this afternoon. So if there are any questions on that, I'm happy to answer that. We have our FSU Hillsborough County Future Land Use or FLU study. So students work with staff to identify areas that may require future updates to the future land use map. Again, this is specific to Hillsborough County. We also have our Popular Future Leaders in Planning or FLIP program. This is for high school students that are interested in planning, introducing them to planning. A lot of us are introduced to planning a little bit later in life, so it's nice to introduce when you're younger. But we expanded that program from 4 to 5 days, and we also created an alumni connection program to track where our students may end up. I'd also like to note that one of the staff on my team is actually an alum of the FLIP program, which is pretty cool. We have our schools coordination. So staff continue to collaborate with Hillsborough County Public Schools on a range of county planning efforts, including the USA expansion work, the UEA siting, and various school siting initiatives. Our third pillar is resilient, natural, and built environment, perhaps most interesting to this board in particular. We have our City of Tampa section updates for recreation and open space, solid waste, and capital improvements. So these are portions of the Tampa Comprehensive Plan that have moved forward throughout 2025, and they will actually be heard in front of City Council later this week for adoption. Next up, we have our USF studio on Tampa's environmentally sensitive areas. So staff worked with USF students to evaluate the ESA flu category and provide a report on that information. We have our Hillsborough County USA expansion study fiscal model. So staff updated this model with demographic estimates and budget figures as we worked on the USA expansion study work. And finally, we have the TPO's traffic signal prioritization study. And this study looked at replacing old traffic signals, incorporating new systems, and making traffic safer. Our fourth and final pillar is technology and operational enhancements. We have a number of items here, starting off with our reclassification working group and onboarding platform. So staff created a career conversations guide for supervisors, as well as a reclassification/pay progression request form to standardize procedures across the agency. We have our RFP, or request for proposals framework. This is a process that was created for procuring consultants, so it's been updated across the agency. We also have a project management framework, which is a best practices guide for staff on project management. We've created a public engagement dashboard, and this is a tool that tracks key performance indicators to identify trends and make database decisions for future outreach efforts. While the work occurred for this in 2025, it will be finalized and utilized in 2026. We have our geofencing to maximize paid social media advertising. So we have utilized paid ads for survey participation by geofencing, which allows the ad to be targeted within project boundaries. We've used this with community plan updates and our Plant City Comprehensive Plan update, and it's been an efficient and cost-effective tool for community input. So we've really seen an increase in survey responses from the area for that. And then finally, we have our TPO merger study and peer exchange. So staff have continued discussions about a potential TPO or MPO merger and completed a peer exchange to guide next steps. And with that, in terms of next steps for this presentation, we'll be also in front of the Planning Commission on February 9th. We will continue tracking and implementation our 2024 and 2029 strategic plan, making sure that we are following all those goals and strategies that you saw at the beginning of the presentation. And this concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions? Thank you very much. Next, Mr. Joel Brown.
Yes, sir. Good morning, board members and guests. I'm Joel Brown. I'm the citizen of Tampa, City of Tampa citizen appointee to the River TAC. Also the vice chair sitting in for Jackie Julian, who could be with us this morning. So we've only had one meeting really since the last time that we presented to you, but we had the holidays, but also the Planning Commission Awards. Thank you for those of us who were able to attend during that time, and I believe it was a prior approval item for you. We presented the River Stewardship Award to Friends of the River. So a group that's been around for a very long time and contributed greatly to the health and restoration of the river. In our one meeting that we had previously on November 18th, we received the same presentation that you did regarding the nature-based solutions and the comp plan changes, or the future changes for plan amendments to Northeast County, and was approved by our group. And also we received a presentation on some nature-based solutions along the river corridor, utilizing River Tower Park in the Sulphur Springs area, and just some different ideas for the different elements of the river that might see renewed investment as they get bringing more and more attention. And we're excited to see that attention is being paid there. And that's pretty much all we have, unless you have any questions for me.
Thanks. Any questions? Thank you very much. Next up, we have some permit applications. Sir, is there any objection to Are there any objections to seven, A, B, and C? Or can we
No,
move them at once?
No, the THC voted and unanimously voted to recommend approval or recommend that you find them consistent with the Hillsborough River Master Plan.
All three of them?
All three.
Okay. May I have a motion to approve seven, A, B, and C?
Move to approve 7A, B, and C.
Second? All in favor? Aye. All right, any other business? No, sir. No? All right, we're adjourned. Thanks.
It's nice, I serve on the board for it too, so I've seen all of those.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of do when she was presenting to like the Manhattan City Council. So,